It's funny, I'm on Dallin's computer, so it's logged into his, so getting some views. But yeah, I don't know which video you last saw, Buster, but I've tried a lot of different things. I've done some like kind of like vlog type stuff. Played through Breath of the Wild. Did just like some podcast episodes with a little animated looping thing. Recorded some things like discussions. Reacted to trailers. A lot of the stuff has been kind of like discussion, kind of like video essays. The one that really like popped off was the one I did for the Super Mario Bros. Movie. That was a super cool movie too. And I did one that was kind of like game dev. And then I made a trailer for the Uptown Warriors. Yeah, and then I put on like my reels and stuff, and I did like a silent vlog. I think I've seen most so far, but not the last few. Oh yeah. All these were pretty recent. Talked about like being a YouTuber and reacted to like this homage that Studio Ghibli made, and talked about The Boy and the Heron. Yeah. The Boy and the Heron is a super interesting movie. I guess this is like 2 minutes. I don't know if you've seen this one. This is one of my favorite videos. I really like how it turned out.
Carefully enough. The past whispers to you.
Hopefully it's not too loud.
The world as we know it is coming undone. Darkness is pouring its blood and hate. If we're to defeat it, you'll have to trust me. This is the lot that's going to take down the most dangerous evil in over a century. An artist, his best friend. A magi descended from a very old family, a school teacher, and...
Oh, you remember this? Yeah.
Money.
This took me so long to edit, like, because I based it around like the structure of a Fantastic Beasts trailer and read some of those lines because I really liked how they sounded and changed some of them up a bit.
Things are not quite what they appear.
But I recorded them all like in Audacity and then like lined them up in like a video editor, and oh, I love this part with the boom. And all of this was stock footage that I did some color grading to and like brought down the black bars to make it look all cinematic. But it turned out really good. It actually gave me some ideas for the story itself. Yeah, Uptown Warriors. Yeah, so I've actually been writing a lot of short stories based on just characters that people have sent in, so that's been really fun. Yeah, that's been really cool. Just so you guys can get an idea of what some of those stories were. Some of them may still have like grammatical errors and stuff, grammar was never my strong suit. Oh no. I don't know if anyone else has problems with trying to remember passwords. Oh man, that's so white. Can I like... Is there a way to do dark mode? Oh yeah, you have to like change... Oh, what? I forgot, you have to like change it. But yeah, so I've like started writing the chapter 5 to Tanuki Hero's story. And yeah, there's lots of commas that need to be put in and stuff. But I thought it might be cool to read through one of these. Which one of these? Maybe this one. Yeah, so this is a character that someone sent in. I'm not gonna worry about those right now. Buster said in programming, if we miss a comma, the program just doesn't work. Yeah, no, that is true. Syntax is like super important and like, yeah. Well, okay. So the great amethyst gem sat high in the upper sky. I don't know if I should just fill up. It's just so white. So white. The great amethyst gem sat high in the upper sky, shining with violet light. Far below, Clarence looked up at the blinding light of the gem. As he trotted his way to the archive of Avendir, his antlers shone with residual amethyst-hued light from above as he reached the great door of the archive. Clarence leaned up against the door. Maybe I should add in some, like, lo-fi ambiance. Yeah. Clarence leaned up against the door, looking out over the expanse of Avendir. Avendirians flew through the sky with their magnificent wings of feather. For the past years since Clarence had learned how to read, he had made the same journey again and again, gleaning wisdom from the tomes and scrolls of the archive. Clarence's auburn hair blew in... Oh, getting a little too crazy there, lo-fi. Clarence's auburn hair Clarence's auburn hair blew in the wind as he heaved open the great door. He stepped lightly into the entrance hall. Oh, I guess I could turn down the volume of the music. Into the entrance hall. The archive was perched on the edge of the lofty sky haven of Avendir. It held many balconies that looked out. I think this is supposed to be onto. Looked out onto the great sea of cloud. The architecture itself was hewn out of blue sky stone, with great arches long since covered by cloudy moss. Clarence made his way down the sky stone stair, which spiraled down. To the den of tomes. Lanterns of amethyst hung in these lower parts of the archive. The familiar lavender light shone on Clarence's face and antlers as he ducked his head to enter the inner chamber of the den. The den of tomes was a great dome below the archive. Its walls led up from the floor to the peak of the dome, with books circling up and up following suit. For the non-winged folk, many of the books were practically out of reach, and that's how the elders liked it. But with the sheer size of the shelves, Clarence had found he could scale his way up to the top. No one other than the old archivist visited the den, so it had become Clarence's safe haven. Day after day, he had studied the lore of Avendir, the tales of times past, and many countless tomes. Clarence had found a tome that held many tales and fables of the haven, even some that recounted the stories of the lands below. He had asked the old archivist if he could borrow it day after day, and finally he had received approval. Clarence knew for sure that his little brother would love to hear these stories. He retrieved the small book and pocketed it in his pack. He then lifted a towered stack of books from the floor and carried it over to the center table. The young Rain opened up the books and happily pulled out his journal to take notes of his findings. "Let's see what we can find today," Clarence breathed out. After reading for a while, Clarence paused for a moment, reaching into his pack for a slice of bread and mistberry jam. He spread the jam on the bread and took a big bite. This year's mistberry crop is exceptionally good." Clarence took another bite of jam and bread. As Clarence finished up his studies, he placed his books back on the shelves and lifted his pack up onto his shoulders. As he readied to leave, he snuffed out the candles he had lit as skylight dwindled. Approaching the door, something out of place caught Clarence's eye. It was a book, which, not while out of place of itself, stood out due to how it stuck out from all the others on its shelf. Clarence walked over to the book. That's odd," Clarence spoke out loud. The Rain read the title sprawled on the side of the book, Of Runes and Riddles. Clarence hadn't noticed the book before, but from its dust and aged scent, it had sat there for a long time. Clarence attempted to push the book back into place and go on his way, but it didn't give. Something was blocking its path. Clarence gingerly pulled the book from its place on the ledge. He briefly glanced at the book and, seeing nothing amiss, placed it temporarily on an empty space on the bookshelf. Reaching into the chasm that now existed between books, Clarence found that it went far back to the wall of the den, which made sense due to the matching size of the large book of runes and riddles. And Clarence reached the end of as Clarence reached the end of the chasm, his hands wrapped around a small object. He held fast to the unknown object as he pulled his hand from the place between books. As his hand emerged from darkness to light, he found that he held in his hands a small sun made from white wood, a sun-shaped ring with an inner gem of ashen quartz. It was unlike any gem that Clarence had ever seen. The ashen glow radiated in his eyes. It was now approaching nightfall, which brought Clarence back to his senses. He thought for a second, but against his better judgment placed the ring in his pocket and headed out of the dark den of tomes into the moonlit night of Avendir. "Nimbus, I'm back!" Clarence shouted as he entered his loft home. He threw off his boots and pack, placing them near the front door. Nimbus was resting in a hammock in the corner nook. He sleepily opened his eyes as Clarence came into view. "Oh, hey Claire." Then finish, and Clarence chuckled warmly. "Hey, little bro, had a good nap, I see." Nimbus yawned again, lifting up his arms, his small antler stubs poking out from under his messy strawberry hair. "I got a book I think you may like," Clarence responded to the yawn. Nimbus's blue eyes lit up at the mention of the book. Clarence reached into his pack and pulled out the small book of stories. Nimbus hopped out of the hammock and ran to Clarence to see the book up close. "Wow, that's such a beautiful book," Nimbus exclaimed with awe at the little tome. "And it's full to the brim with tales of the haven." Clarence handed the book to his little brother. "I know how much you love hearing stories about Avendir," Clarence smiled, "not to mention fables of the land below." Nimbus gasped, flipping through the book with wonderment. "What? Really?" "Yeah, even stories about rains like us." "Thanks, Clarence," Nimbus laughed, giving his older brother a hug. "It was my honor," Clarence responded with a laugh. "Remember, though, it's on loan. Take good care of it." Nimbus again sat in the hammock, but now with the newfound storybook in his hands. In the far room, Clarence prepped for supper. Clarence looked over at Nimbus and smiled. chopping potatoes into a large pot for stew. He looked out the dew-covered window at the moon sitting at eye level, floating in the sea of cloud as the